Good day, fellow champions of inclusion. I am Aaron, and this is the Inclusive Dad podcast, where we explore inclusion and make it practical. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me in exploring ways we can create a more inclusive world together. You are important, you matter, and you can make a difference. Today, my guests are Mike and Dory. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Since Dory told me to call out Mike, I'm going to ask him the first question. Mike, do you want to just tell us a little bit about who you guys are and about maybe a little bit about your podcast to start us off?
Sure. As you said, we're Mike and Dory. We are the hosts of the Othering podcast. And the Othering podcast is out there to advocate for the disabled and the LGBTQ, providing our guests a platform to share their story and just kind of place to speak out, especially nowadays, kind of a rough political climate we're going through right now. So a place to speak out and kind of
Show
act,
their
yeah,
humanity.
show their humanity.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Why don't you each do this, and Dory, you can go first, then Mike. What is your definition of inclusion?
Not excluding anybody for any reason. Um, just making sure that when you're on, say, the playground and there's a kid that's alone, walk up to them and say hi and make sure that they feel like there's people that care. Um, and that's pretty much how I see inclusion is just making sure that everybody knows that people care about you and are interested in you and that being alone if you want to is one thing, but it shouldn't be, because somebody says, "Oh, you're different."
Yeah, I love that. Mike?
What she said, and we all we all need to basically stand up together, fight together. We all need to work together as a community. Being a community is so important. Doesn't matter what color your skin is or what you look like, what disability you have, or what your sexual preference is. We all need to work together and be a community together and not be against each other.
Yeah, you guys have great definitions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Um, so yeah, for me, I live in Minnesota, southern Minnesota, which is cornfields and bean fields, and I went to a Baptist church growing up, and honestly, looking back, I don't ever remember hearing the word disabled being spoken. I went to a Christian school, kindergarten through 8th grade. Don't remember anything about special education for sure there, and then also in high school, I don't remember it. And then also I grew up, I mean, the only non-white people that I remember seeing as a kid were the migrant workers that came. I lived in an area where there was like a vegetable farm, so they would come up during harvest time. Otherwise, I don't ever recall seeing anybody that didn't look like me. So, um, my experience with disability and diversity is much later in life. I mean, for you guys, um, did you grow up in areas where it was much more diverse from the beginning, or
My
how was it for you guys?
My story is very similar to yours. I went to
Okay.
Catholic school growing up. I think in high school there was one black kid and one Vietnamese kid, and all the rest were
Sure.
white. And I don't remember any disabled people, at least not called disabled. I'm sure there were autistic kids and stuff like that,
Right.
but nobody that was called disabled, nobody in a wheelchair. So it was a very white centered growing up. It's when I met her and moved out more closer to the coast when I started being really around more diverse people. We started in New Jersey, now we're in Pennsylvania, and we're around a lot more diversity over here.
Yeah.
I grew up in predominantly white areas, but there was at least like a total of 10 kids, usually in every state that I've lived in that were of other um, religion or colors and things like that. It was still, though, that proximity to whiteness that everybody had. So you didn't quite really get the feeling of different cultures. It was just everybody blended well. And that was kind of the introduction to difference that I had. And growing up, think I saw one visibly disabled person in my entire, school career. So it really wasn't I don't wanna say it was bad, it wasn't, but it kinda makes you feel like you stand out like a sore thumb.
Mm.
And back in those days, when you saw someone in a wheelchair going down the street, as teenagers, I hate to say this, but a lot of times you kind of laughed at them and talked about them behind their back. And it's wrong, but that's kind of what we did back in the early 90s and in the 90s. And it was not like it is today.
We were stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting when I think back about growing up because, like I said, I don't remember. I mean, even thinking, I'm just thinking back and man, I don't remember people in wheelchairs. And I mean, there had to have been. It's just, before my daughter was born, I feel like I just maybe saw it, just didn't, that whole thing. This is a horrible comparison, but like if you're gonna buy a new car, then all of a sudden, like as soon as you make a decision to buy that car, you're seeing that car everywhere. I don't know if it's similar, but my daughter, she uses a power chair, so everywhere. We're driving anywhere we go. That's not accessible. That's not accessible. So it's just, I think it's awareness is part of it for sure. It's just, but like looking back, I just don't remember it. It's interesting.
So if you don't mind, I have a question for
Yeah,
you.
sure.
I grew up in a very non disabled family, very, I hate to say this, but very white American dream family. Having married Dory, she is disabled. She's an ambulatory wheelchair user. It took me a long time to get used to it and to get used to having to load up her wheelchair and kind of get used to all the little nuances of it and doing a little bit extra to help her out, stuff like that. How was it for you with having a child and getting used to bringing the power wheelchair around and really adjusting to a different life?
That is a great question. So yeah, when she was little, she didn't have like a wheelchair. You could put her in a stroller. I can't remember at what age. First, she got a manual chair, which is much easier to move around. And then she got a power chair, which was for quite a long time. We just had a van with no lift and just had like a foldable aluminum ramp. So we'd put her in her seat and then drive it in the back. Now she has they have a accessible van, but and I guess for me, it kind of always was. I had to learn it, but I'm her dad. I'm her dad. I'm just going to do whatever it takes. I never really, I guess questioned it. That stuff is just, she's my daughter. I'm going to do it. I guess if that answers your question.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes I think that's the best teacher sometimes is when you just have to do it
Hmm.
Yeah.
because you don't have a choice. There is no
Right.
other alternative.
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting though, because like I said, I don't remember anything about disability or any of that stuff. So I just relied on schools and doctors to tell us stuff, and then stuff happened. My inclusion story is we sent her to the segregated classroom across town because that's where, she was supposed to go because of her level of need. Went there to lunch probably within, I don't remember exactly, but it was pretty early on and saw other kids folding towels, and she was like in kindergarten, first grade. And I was like, hold on a second, like, why aren't they in math and reading class? Why are they already folding towels? Like, you're already making that decision for them that they can't do stuff? That makes no sense. So found out about inclusion. So it's just, but once I found out that, okay, there are things out there that maybe they don't tell you or they have different views on, it's like, okay, now the whole, spend lots of time finding out different things. So it's interesting, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. It's a learning experience for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yes.
is for sure. But it's
And
just, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I grew up with my brothers and various other family members having more invisible disabilities than visible. And I think that kind of helped shape my worldview of it. But I just don't understand why we have to push them to the side. And why can't they learn math or science? Why aren't they encouraged to go to college or a trade school? Whatever works for them, instead of deciding you're just going to be a maid or sit at home and kind of stare at a wall.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I'm not sure if this has happened to you, Dory, but my daughter, I mean, I've heard of this, not just my daughter, but other people too with visible disabilities. Like they go out to eat and they look at me or they look at the person with them and ask them what they want for meals and not ask them directly. Has that ever happened to you guys?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of times, if I go with her to a doctor's appointment, the doctor will talk looking at me,
Yep.
not looking at her, even though it's about her, has nothing to do with me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, yeah, that happens to my daughter too, and it's like so my daughter's, I say, somewhat nonverbal. I can understand her, but it's maybe hard for you if you just meet her. But still, it's like look at her, ask her the question. If she can't answer, then I'll jump in. Don't just assume because she's in a wheelchair that she can't talk.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right. It's frustrating because we have voices too. Um, Whether we have to use sign language, writing it down, or the AAC devices, or even our own voice, it doesn't matter. But look at us like we're humans because, well, we are. We have our own agencies too, and always looking over us or assuming that the one that's able-bodied is the one that should be talking is so stupid and ridiculous.
yeah, for sure. There was also a time my daughter now she likes to call and set up her doctor appointments, and I was with her. Yeah, I was with her once, and she called, and the person got on the phone, and the first person she talked to, my daughter talked, and that person didn't understand her. Instead of like, trying to have some patience, she just hung up on her. I was like, okay,
Wow.
that was rough. And then so she called back again, and then the second person was like way more understanding. And it's like, okay, so it's just I saw, back to back calls, vastly different ways to handle. It's just like, man, she's happy that she can talk and like say her name and her birthday. Like, just give her a little time. If you can't, somebody's with her. Just if you don't understand her, then we'll help. But it's just like, wow, just it was pretty hard because I'm like trying to like, okay, I'm mad, but I'm like, I don't want to yell. I'm trying to like, okay, do you want to try again? Like, what do you,
Yeah.
trying not to blow up.
And the toll it takes on your child mentally, it's just that's awful to do to a child.
Hmm.
And if you
Yeah,
don't understand them, there are much better ways to work around
right.
it and to figure it out.
Yeah, ask. I'm sorry, I don't understand you. Can you hold on? Let me get somebody who might be able to understand you better than me.
Yep.
You know, I think part of it is so many people are afraid to admit that they can't understand things, so they just revert to a lot of times the worst thing to do
Yeah.
in those situations instead of just admitting I don't understand or I don't know. Um, and I think that should be a part of the vocabulary because nobody knows everything. It's impossible. And asking the person how are you or what do you need can go a lot easier and is much more validating than just kind of talking over them or ignoring them completely. And then you end up in situations where things explode because you ignored the, basic human decency.
So before we came on, Dory said I don't talk much, so I got to prove her wrong. So my our youngest kid is on the autism spectrum, and he recently went for a job interview at a local retail place. And at the end of the interview, it's our understanding that they shook his hand and said, "This sounds great. Let us know when you can start, and we'll be all set." So he went home and he has a current job. So he went home, talked to them, figured out the 2 weeks that he needed to give, texted that place back and said, I can start this date. Am I good? And they said, yeah, that sounds perfect. And made it sound very clear that he had the job. So my son gave us 2 weeks at the current job. And then 2 days before he was supposed to start, he texted the place and they said, no, we never hired you. You don't understand how this works. And just that was it. And I'm sure it was a big part because they knew they could take advantage of him because he wasn't quote unquote normal in their eyes. And it's so frustrating.
Yeah, that is frustrating. Wow. Yeah, that is not good. So how's he taking it?
He was upset for sure. He got his original job back. They ended up keeping him, which is good, but he was really upset. And it was a really good job that would have helped him with what he wants to do when he grows up, too. Kind of like leading into that field. So it was rough.
That's rough.
And as a parent, it's really hard to kind of
Hmm.
sit back and watch them go through those moments of discrimination or just heartbreak and things like that. And
You feel it.
watching, yeah, you feel it. You do feel it. And it makes me angry having people go out there and just basically walk all over
Mhm.
people who might need a little extra help and understanding certain things. It doesn't take any time, any extra effort to just say, I'm sorry. Let me explain to you how this is going to work. Because not everybody knows the exact process of every company or person or whatever. And, being nice doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't, for me too, it's just I've seen too many times where the power imbalance of a situation where it's just, I mean, even just starting to talk about it, just with where somebody has way more power than the other person, I don't like it. I don't like that because I've seen too many times where they take advantage of it and it's just not right. And I don't, that's hard. It's hard.
Grew up a very quiet child. I was kind of taught by the bullies, the more I stay quiet, the more safe I'll be. So I didn't talk much, didn't stand up for myself much, and was walked all over all the time because of that. And I kind of know to an extent how it feels. I don't have autism to the extent he does. I might have some neurodivergence, but not autism. And it's just, yeah, it's an awful feeling, and no one should be taken advantage like that of, taken advantage of like that.
Yeah. So it sounds like you guys have lived in different states. I mean, Dory, is there certain places where it's more accessible or less accessible, or what's your experience kind of?
I would say that usually the more recent, I've grown up in Texas and Virginia and Maryland and New Jersey. And I would say that where I lived in New Jersey seemed to be pretty accessible because there was a wheelchair user that was going to our school. We had an elevator, no problem. We had ramps right next to the steps all the times. Um, I'm sure there were some areas that were inaccessible, but at the time you know, my disability wasn't putting me in a wheelchair, so I didn't think anything of it. Uh, but I don't remember having that many problems in New Jersey getting around because I did use crutches a lot as um, I would sprain my ankles constantly or my knees. Um, I had a lovely array of different size crutches. And I don't remember having issues really getting around school. Um, some of the businesses here in Bethlehem um, are kind of difficult because of how old a lot of the buildings are. And they don't seem to want to have, the disabled people to come in their stores or use their products or whatever. And that's something that has definitely been kind of, I hate to say this, but growing up, I didn't think anything of it much because access for me at the time, I could still walk. So, steps I could do without a huge problem. But now, as I travel with Mike going around, I'm like, oh, well, we can't go there. We definitely can't go there. Oh, wait, we can't go there either because there's no ramps to get in or elevators to use. And I don't understand because that's a lot of money that they're throwing away.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is interesting. So yeah, my girlfriend now, we've been together 4 years, but was not around somebody in a wheelchair as much as she is now with my daughter. So she's like, I knew there was the ADA, so I, kind of thought everything was accessible. And then she's like, after being with you guys and trying to go places, you realized how much stuff still isn't accessible. So I think, I mean, if like again, if you're not in that world, it's just you hear there is a law. You don't have to experience, like you said. There's a step I can. I'm not in a wheelchair, so I can step over it, but it's definitely a different discussion. Or I mean, I live in Minnesota, and people are supposed to shovel their sidewalks and clear the corners, but not no, not everybody does. It's like I mean, my daughter, she lives with her mom, comes over a couple days. I have to make sure if it snows, I have to get out there, make sure it's shoveled. But that's just from our, 20 feet from the corner to our to get into our front door. It's like if we can't go around town, there's no way there's ice and snow. It's just you can't do it. So it's definitely interesting.
Yeah. Around here, can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Around here to go downtown, it's very hilly. Like the whole thing is a hill. And then even though they do shovel or plow the sidewalks, whatever, there's a lot of spots where they can't really get down enough. So there's ice patches and spots still covered. I recently went there when my parents came into town. There was no way Dory could have come with us. It never would have worked. Like she said, a lot of the buildings have steps, but even the sidewalks weren't usable, or they're just in too bad a condition, too many bumps and holes and
Right.
stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my daughter, she's the power chair, and those things are not built for ice. They just spin.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're not built for Minnesota winters for sure.
No,
Need to get
and
like chains or something on them.
I would think that they would want to kinda think about those things, um, maybe catering to certain regions or, things like
Right,
that. Because I mean, where we are, we're on the side of a mountain, so it's really hard to not find areas with
right.
backyards or um, sidewalks that are like this, and in a wheelchair, trying to push up that, oh my god. Even if you had um a power wheelchair. I've seen some people have difficulties getting up some of those hills. And I know you can't really necessarily change the terrain to fit us, but maybe come up with ideas so that we can still come in your store or,
Mhm.
enjoy with our family.
Yeah, it's interesting. For my daughter, she loves music, so we try to go to concerts and stuff. And there was one time we went to a here it's called like the Eagles Club. I'm not sure if you guys have Eagles like the Eagles clubs out there, but just like uh they were having a concert outside, but to go get to that, you had to go through the building and then out the back door to get to it because I had the area roped off. So you go in the front door, then to get out the back door is like a 6-inch drop, and there was no ramp. And I was like, okay. So then they had to like go grab this like wooden ramp. So first of all, somebody had to go get it. It wasn't right there. Secondly, they got there and there was like a huge hole in it, like down. It was plywood and there's a hole in it. And I was like, okay, this is just not fun. So it's just if you would have a ramp there already, it's a whole different experience. We show up, there's a ramp, you can just go through, boom, you're out there. Well, now you got to find it. The ramp is crap, and all automatically my brain is like, this is not fun. It's just how that affects it. But then again, my daughter, she knows the music stuff, she's fine. But me, I'm trying to like not be upset because we had to go through these extra roadblocks. So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
And honestly, it is different seeing my kids have the roadblocks versus me. Like,
Right.
if it's
Yeah.
me, it's like, I'll I don't have to go or I'll figure something else out. But when it's my kids, I feel extra kind of like anger and sadness at the
Mhm.
same time because I want them to be able to get out and experience everything. And we've got so much going on in the world that not all of it is bad. And, you can have fun, but it's hard when it's not inclusive and it doesn't, cater to the fact that there are people who have sensory difficulties or are in wheelchairs.
Yeah, for sure. When did you guys start your podcast and why did you start it?
We started in May of 2025. and we started because of her. We leave because of her. I'll let you explain it.
Okay, so we used to do radio, internet radio stuff, and we loved it.
Mhm.
We liked talking to people and getting different ideas from people. And so we decided that we wanted to do it again, and we kept racking our brains trying to figure out what are we going to do that will last longer than, say, a week because of the political climate. I was thinking, well, always the first people that are always picked on and put into the situation, the most dangerous situation ever, is disabled and LGBTQ plus. And so I said, why don't we talk about that? We're for all marginalized people, but those two groups are always the first that are in, put up for danger. And so the first thing is that we're always dehumanized. We're othered and we're always, well, I'm not like them, so I'm good type of thing. And I wanted to kind of share our stories so that people have to look and see the names and the faces and say, how do you look at that and say they deserve to die or they deserve whatever they get? And so I'm trying to help rehumanize those groups. And I just happen to be a part of those two groups as well. And
And she skipped a lot there. She's her disability has gotten a lot worse in the past, I would say 5, 7 years area. It's decreased a lot. So in that time, and with the political climate as it is, she really was going downhill. She was getting really upset with the world, rightfully so, and just in a selfish way, not pleasant to be around. And she's always been one of those types that wants to help people, that cares about people, wants to help people. Growing up, she wanted to be a doctor and a lawyer because she wanted to help people. She's a doctor, but not a medical doctor. But so as she was feeling that way, feeling so down and alone, she started to go on Instagram to find people like her and people in the medical field that were in wheelchairs and stuff to see if it was something she could do. And as she was looking, it started to make her feel a little better, a little less alone, seeing people doing something or being like her in a way. And from that, that's kind of where all of what she said came from. And then when she presented the idea in the car, kind of came up with it and said, let's talk to disabled people and LGBTQ. I said, well, see if we've got anything there. Talk to your friends on Instagram, see if any of them would be interested and see what happens. And it just kind of took off from there. They were all very into it and then it just
exploded.
exploded. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, mine is similar. I was got interviewed on a couple podcasts, and after like the third one where there's like, when are you going to start yours? I was like, okay, this is like the third time this has happened. Let's threw something out on threads like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a podcast talking about inclusion. Would anybody be interested to be interviewed? And like within, I don't even know, 24 hours, like 75 people were like, yes. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, there's something here. So like 180 interviews later or something in like 18 months, we're still doing it. So it's just, yeah, I think people want the opportunity to share their story, and it's fun to talk to people such as yourselves and get the stories out there. And you are right. It's been a kind of a crazy, well, it's over a year now, hasn't it? Like over last year and this year already. It's been a lot of crazy stuff happening. So it's important to put faces with stories in Minnesota. Well, I live in Minnesota and probably about 90 minutes south of Minneapolis. I mean, we go we go there sometimes, but it's a lot of crazy stuff happening in Minneapolis right now. A lot of stuff in Minnesota in general. My daughter gets some money through Medicaid to be able to stay at home. We've been able to, you know, take care of her at home. She's 23, so some of that stuff's pretty scary. So we're just trying to take it day by day and focus on what we can control, and we're thankful for every day that we can, keep doing it the way we have been, and never know what tomorrow's going to be like. But it's definitely some pretty crazy times right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this community is the best community.
Yep.
They're the
Yes.
nicest, greatest people ever, and that's
Yes.
what we need now is community, as
Yep.
many people on our side as we can get.
And hope.
Yep.
There's
Right.
never lose hope. Sometimes, the point is the chaos point is to make us feel like there's nothing ever that we could do and to be hopeless, but always have hope because, our ancestors went through hell. Um,
Mhm.
a lot of them were enslaved, indentured, treated poorly, and they fought through those times in their previous countries and in here. And if they can do it, we can find a way to do it too. And, make it better for our future generations instead of trying to regress and make it worse. And so you got to have that hope, that feeling of, I can do this. And don't necessarily take everything on. Find that one little thing, even if it's to draw,
Mhm.
make carrots, whatever it is that you like doing, do it and find joy. That's the other thing is you got to keep laughing, keep finding that joy because that's also what helps keep you going, seeing that
Yeah, for sure.
beauty.
Mm.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, my daughter, she, like I said, she likes music, and we haven't just the last couple weeks. We've been when she's over on YouTube, we'll find some concerts and just listen to the music. It's just I don't know. There's something about music. It's playing. We all start singing along to the songs we know, and it just make in that moment everything is okay.
Yep,
Hmm.
yep.
Yeah.
And that's what helps you, keep waking up the next day
Yep.
is having those fond memories of, you know, it doesn't always have to be trying to fight a system. Sometimes just relaxing, reading a book and enjoying it, telling other people about that book, or listening to music and singing along, even if you are horrible at singing, do it anyway because it kind of like heals you in ways that it's indescribable and um, at least for me. And I can't always find the words, but it heals you and it makes you realize, okay, I'm going to keep fighting for this. And no matter what anybody says, I have every right to be here.
Absolutely. What is one tip you can share to help the listeners be more inclusive today? So just something anybody can start doing today to be more inclusive.
Don't be an asshole. That's the best one.
Yes.
That's great.
Don't judge people just because of how they look. Don't judge them just because of a wheelchair or because of the color of their skin.
Yeah. I mean,
Be fair, have empathy.
definitely have empathy. And if you see that person kind of sitting alone, talk to them. Ask them how their day was.
Mhm.
Some people like to, sit and eat alone. That's fine. Just ask them anyway. Would you like to be alone? Or, and if they say, well, I'm kind of new here or I'm shy, sit with them. You'd be amazed at what you can learn just by finding those people that are, in libraries or whatever that are quiet and talk to them.
Mm.
That's how you, become inclusive to everybody is believing that everybody has a story and everybody deserves to share that. And, you got to listen.
Yeah, it is true. That's a great tip to listen. And for me, it's just I realized probably a year or two ago, like when my schedule's like busy all day, like one thing to another, next, it's like you don't see those people maybe around you that or those opportunities if somebody needs help. You're just so busy. And it's like when I take more time in my day and, on purpose have breaks or don't jump from one thing to the next, that's when like the magical moments happen and you see somebody, you talk to somebody and we got to slow down too.
Hmm.
Yep. And it's kind of sad what society's become now, where it's almost scary to talk to random people because you
Right.
don't know what to expect. But you're right. You just got to include them and you got to
Yep.
talk to them.
Smile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say
Even
hi.
if, even if they flip you off, smile anyway, because that could be something that makes a person say, you know what, I got to keep going.
Right.
Um, and just show that you're a human
Hmm.
and not an automatron. Stop and
Yep.
smell the roses. It's true. because nobody ever goes to their deathbed saying, I wish I worked more. I wish I worked 24/7. They all say, I wish I had more time. And that time is to stop and smell the roses and to be welcoming and to have friends. So do it when you can.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, I'm
great.
not silly and stupid thinking everybody doesn't have to work. I understand you have to. But
Right.
while you're there, look out the window sometimes.
Mhm. For sure. Where's the best place for everybody to connect with you?
Everywhere. We're on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the big ones. And we have our own website. It's the other or just otheringpodcast.com. We are Othering Podcast on social medias. I think it's othering.podcast on TikTok, but you can
Yeah.
find us pretty easily.
Just
Awesome.
search for us
And
anywhere we are there. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's Othering dot podcast on TikTok, but everywhere else it's just Othering Podcast is one word.
and I'm pretty quick to answer.
Mhm.
awesome.
She's not.
No, I'm not.
You guys ready for the last question?
Sure.
Sure.
Do you guys like spam lunch meat? Yes or
Yes.
no?
Yes.
Yes.
Whoa, that was really quick. That was very fast.
Honestly, I had never had it or tried it or heard of it until I met her. And now I do like it since she's
Yeah. Well,
turned me on to it.
I grew up, um, like I said, in Texas and Virginia. And in the South, there's a lot of different type of fried things that you find and put them in a
Yep.
deep fryer. Like there's chicken feet. I don't understand that. Don't ask me.
Oof.
Um, but I don't like that. And I just remember having so much fun going through fields and playing with my friends and having spam sandwiches or having cold hot dogs. And those were fond memories for me. So
Mm.
and it's cheap.
Yeah. See, I live by Austin, Minnesota, where Hormel's located, where they make spam and where the spam museum's located. So I've been asking all my guests just to see what the reaction is. Usually it's really quick yes or a really quick no. There's not a lot of wiggle room usually.
So which one's the majority? Yes or no? I would guess no.
Actually, I think there actually has been more no's, but it's kind of interesting because they'll have like a stretch of a bunch of yeses and then a bunch of no's, but I think I don't even know where it's at, like 80 yeses, 90 no's. I mean, it's pretty close, but slightly more no's. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Then they'll
think
get a string of people who have been to Hawaii. It's huge in Hawaii, so then if they've been there, they usually have tried it or saw it or something. It's
We live real
interesting.
close to the Peeps headquarters, so that's what's big around here.
Yeah.
See, I don't like Peeps. I don't know if actually, okay, I'm not really sure if I've ever had one, to be honest with you. Maybe
I
I should try
also
one.
don't. I don't like them much.
They're
They're gooey.
I don't hate them, but I could live without them. Not my favorite.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
having us. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To those listening, thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey. It is truly an honor. Please join the podcast newsletter by clicking on the link in the episode description to keep up with the latest episodes. Together, we can make the world more inclusive. Until next time, stay empowered and be a champion for inclusion.